Senate's in a quorum call.
I ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
And I ask unanimous consent the Senate vote immediately following my remarks.
Without objection.
Now, Mr. President, on PNTR. As President Biden begins the most important foreign trip of his presidency, the best thing the Senate can do this week is pass PNTR legislation to land another devastating blow on Putin's economy. Over the past few weeks, Republicans have complained that President Biden hasn't acted quickly enough against Putin. Yet for the past few days, they have stymied swift action on PNTR, despite the fact that the House approved it 424 to 8, with Leader McCarthy supporting it. In particular, the senior senator from Idaho has sought to amend the bill to include an oil ban. We're willing to work with Senator Crapo to address his concerns, but there are a few reasons we should move quickly with PNTR. First, President Biden has already implemented a ban on Russian oil and gas, so passing this legislation is not a priority the way PNTR is. Second, there remain serious questions about whether the proposal from Republicans would delay the ban on buying Russian oil for a period of time. This is a consequence no one wants. Senator Manchin brought this up when he saw the language, and it's something that has to be made. We have to make it certain that this proposal isn't weaker than what the President has put into effect. Third, showing unity, particularly at this time when the President is meeting with our European allies, is especially important. And finally, the House is not in session. Any changes we make to the PNTR legislation delays enactment by at least a week. There is no reason, absolutely no reason, to change what the House has already approved on PNTR and delay action by a week or more. Again, Democrats are willing to work with Senator Crapo on this issue if he can agree to let this process move forward. So let me say it again. PNTR has already been approved overwhelmingly by the House, and it's the most logical next step in the fight against Putin's barbaric war, and the Senate should thus act. Republicans who complain of delay are the ones who are delaying. The Senate has been most effective when working quickly and in unison to support the President and our European allies against Vladimir Putin. Passing PNTR with overwhelming bipartisan support is another chance to do just that. On insulin, yesterday, Mr. President, I held a handful of conversations with colleagues from both sides of the aisle on one of the most confounding problems facing millions of Americans, the skyrocketing costs of insulin. Making insulin more affordable is a top priority for Democrats. So right now there are bipartisan talks underway, led by Senators Shaheen and Collins, to cap insulin at $35 a month and make changes to drive the cost down in a comprehensive way. I intend to put a proposal on the floor as soon as we can after Easter. There should be nothing remotely partisan about making sure Americans don't go broke to manage their diabetes. So Democrats are eager to work wherever we can on legislation that will cap insulin at $35 a month and give millions a long overdue break at the pharmacy. It's reported that at least 1 in 4 insulin users have to ration their use of insulin because they can't afford it. The exponential price and the cost of insulin is truly one of the most frustrating trends of the past 2 decades. This is a drug with no patent on which millions of Americans rely to manage their diabetes. Today, a 40-day supply of insulin can exceed $600 a month, a prohibitive and downright immoral price that makes no sense at all. Over the past few weeks, a number of my colleagues, including Senators Warnock, Senator Shaheen, Senator Murray, and Senator Collins, have worked assiduously on proposals for bringing down the price of insulin, bringing it back down, as part of our larger effort to lower costs for American families. The latest bipartisan effort will combine elements from Senator Warnock's and other proposals, and it has my enthusiastic backing because lowering the cost of insulin is so important. I commend my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for working on this issue in good faith. Bipartisanship has been kindling for a number of recent Senate accomplishments, and insulin should be another issue where we deliver. And in addition, incidentally, while we're talking about cost cutting, we're having hearings this week on a number of issues relating to high costs. Senator Casey is leading, in the Aging Committee, is leading a hearing on home care and the high costs there today. Senator Carper is leading a hearing on clean energy and national security and the high costs of energy there. And in agriculture, Senator Stabenow had a hearing yesterday on the costs of rural child care, rural elder care, and health care. On the competition bill, today the Senate will take another step to advance major bipartisan legislation to increase American jobs and lower costs for American families. For over a year, both parties have worked on competitiveness legislation built around two goals: create more American jobs and lower costs for American families. In the case of Senator Young and myself, the effort has stretched back many years. The House and Senate passed legislation to achieve these goals separately, so the best way now to send a final product to the President's desk is by entering a conference committee with the House, and we're now working towards that end and jumping through a number of procedural hoops to get that done. The majority of us want to see this legislation reach the President's desk. We want to see costs go down for families, see more manufacturing jobs here at home, see greater relief for supply chains, and we want to revive America's unparalleled innovation machine that fueled our economy for so much of the 20th century. The past month reminds us that our country is vulnerable when we import too many goods from a single country, particularly in this case, semiconductors. The war in Ukraine is a perfect test case. Some of the most important resources for making chips, like neon gas, come precisely from Ukraine. We need to make more of these products here in America instead of overseas so we can lower costs, shore up our supply chains, and preserve our national security. For that reason alone, the Senate is moving ahead on this important competitive legislation. And finally, on SCOTUS, the Supreme Court. Yesterday, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson offered a 13-hour master class of why she deserves to be the 116th Justice of the United States Supreme Court. She was simply impressive. It's clear to anyone watching Judge Jackson's brilliant legal mind that it was running in high gear. She remains measured and poised and thoughtful as she worked through yesterday's grueling series of questions. Over the course of the day, Judge Jackson affirmed that she will approach her role on the Supreme Court with prudence, a respect for precedent, and by serving in the same mainstream fashion as the great justice whose seat she would fill. At times, the judge also displayed one of her greatest strengths, her grace and poise, even during moments when a handful of Republicans asked intentionally misleading questions, questions which even their fellow Republicans found uncomfortable. Republicans tried to land a blow, but Judge Jackson kept her cool. By the end of the day, it was obvious why the judge's nomination has won the support of everyone, from law enforcement to conservative judges to scores of peers throughout her career. I expect she'll reach final confirmation by the end of this work period. And now, even as the judge continues her testimony today, the Senate will also be busy confirming scores of other judges to important positions across the federal bench. I'm proud to say that last night the Senate confirmed its 50th judge under President Biden, and by the end of tonight we could reach as many as 58 total judges. But doing that is going to take a lot of focus and patience, just as we required last week. I will once again ask my colleagues that in order to move through tonight's votes quickly, we should stay in our seats or as close to the Senate floor as possible. I yield the floor.